There you go. Happy birthday, 80. Glad you make it to Friday a couple times. Alright, here you go.
One thing stands out too, he's never out of his church. He's never out of his church. I don't know if they want to use him because he have a way with the finances, you know. but he was always in his church. He was the best man at our wedding. I think he was the godfather of one of the boys. So Clive is just a fixture in Ron and Dotlyn's life. And again I say, I thank God for you, and I pray that God will continue to bless you and allow you to enjoy whatever years He has left for you. God bless you.
I worked with the PNP administration in this late 70s. When you cannot believe I wanted my phone around, the RCMP police called me and said to me, message for you to call Superintendent so-and-so at the Ministry of National Security. Halek. So Halek called him and he says, a message for the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Edward Philip John Shalloma. He said, I want you to come back to Jamaica and work for me. Told that person. And I came back and I was the third employee of the Revenue Board. That was Kenneth Miller, mentioned before, and Freddie Martin and myself. And then came Clive Nicholas and others. And from I met Clive, best friends. Love him like cook food. Right. I mean, the US government sent me, Clive and I, to LA to study in 82, right? 82. He did tax fraud, I did excise tax administration. So you understand where we're coming back from. Great man. And then he always said, Mark is leader in love after that. So we drive up Elizabeth Avenue, you know. And carry him to a little lady named Joan, you know. Because he said him, Paul, no. And history that, you know. I won't say not more. But Clive,
Those
you
are
are
not more.
family. And will always be you and your family. Right? Carrie, Courtney, I love all of your family. They are very good people. Joan and her sister, absolutely. Right? You are a lucky man. Amen.
Amen. Why are you?
I went in the elevator and he looked at me and smiled. I looked at him, nodded, and watched the floors coming down to get off. Because I looked at Mr. Nick and I said, this man looks like a married man. And I met him a second time in the elevator and he looked at me again and he smiled. But before I met him the second time, I went into the office and somebody said, why you look a little upset? And I said, I met this man in the elevator, but he looks like a married man and he was smiling at me. And the person said, describe him. And when I said, he's stout, has a little punch, speckled gray hair, the person said to me, he's not married. He lost his wife and he told me this story. And so by the second time I met him, I nodded, I smiled back maybe. But I didn't see him again for a long time because Mr. Nick was a very senior person compared to me at the income tax department. And a lot of time passed, I became a supervisor, and then after that I saw this internal course, and I applied to do it, and the person said to me, that man that you met in the elevator, you're gonna see him again, and you will see maths made to music. And I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, he will take the part of the course that is most complex, and when he's finished with it, you'll understand everything. And so said, so done. The other lecturers came because tax is a specific area. You couldn't use an outsider who don't know about taxes, to teach young people about taxes. And so different persons came, assistant commissioners, this and that. And after a while, there was this very outspoken person, and she said, what they're trying to do, frustrate us and make us feel that it's not a career that we can get into, because everything sounded so complicated. Then Clive came, and the morning he came, he said, how is it going? And we explained that it is tough going so far. We're kind of grappling with a lot of things and not understanding. And we said, no man, you'll understand. And he was doing capital allowances. And that is a complex area of taxation. And Clive went through that. And everybody understood. And the same little lady that loved to speak out said, this we're waiting on the whole time. And he explained everything so well. And very complex computation, we all understood it. And the persons began to ask him about other areas that people had lectured on. And he went through them and he said, oh, I understand what they did. They showed you it's like a short way to do the computation, when there is a long way that you could understand, and then they show you the short way, but they jumped into the short way. After the course, I didn't see him again, and he was transferred. You're transferred to Revenue Board or something like that. And I moved on to the audit department. I was successful and I moved to audit. And I didn't see him again for a long time. I was in audit, and I lived on Elizabeth Avenue, and I used to get a ride to work. And that neighbor went on leave and went abroad. So I had to walk to the bottom of the avenue. And one morning I walked down to the bottom of the avenue. And I heard screech, screech. You know, a car kind of breaking up. And it was Mr. Nick. He spotted me and stopped for me. But I wasn't looking around because I didn't know anybody in the area. So somebody said, I think that person trying to get your attention. And when I looked, it was him. So I took the ride. And after that, Mr. Nick became a fixture in my life. he would say to me, you can walk down in the morning and stay right here, I'll pick you up. And then I left. I was in the audit group now, and after a while I saw a job in the papers. I wrote it, I got it, and I left. But there was no contact or exchange. I don't think we even had cellular phones then. But he, by this time, knew I lived on Elizabeth Avenue. And I think one day he was passing nearby my gate, saw me, and we spoke. After that, Mr. Nicholas became a visitor at my home. And there was a big joke about it because
He's blushing.
I don't know if, well, I live with my mother and my grandmother and my sister. And I don't know if, I'm trying to remember. He started to give me lifts to work and so on. So, and our relationship developed. And then I met Courtney. Courtney gave me one look like that. And there were difficulties. These two were so very close, and I was in the middle of it. But over time, my mother said one thing to me. She said, just love. Just show a lot of love throughout.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have listened to all that has been said here this afternoon. and some really interesting things have been said. And it has made me, look back at my life over these years. And the conclusion that I have come to is that I am a very blessed man. Without a doubt. Absolutely. I was born in Almond Town. At a street called Prince of Wales Street. I remember when I saw my first birth certificate, it didn't have a street address. It just said Prince of Wales Street. So I had to ask my mother, how come they don't say what is the street number? She said, well, in those days, it was just a big yard with a whole heap of, premises. So, but they didn't have the number. So they just put Prince of Wales Street. But to cut the story short, my mother, like many other Jamaicans, left the country for the United States. In those days, a lot of people were leaving. Some leaving to Britain, some leaving for the United States. And I was about 10 years old when she left. And she had 2 sisters. And she left me with the 2 sisters. Well, one mainly I was living with in Almond Town. So that was what I call my first mother. And the second one now that she leave me with is my second mother. And eventually the second mother left Jamaica and went to live in Canada. But guess what? They had another sister who they left me with. So I have always told people that I am fortunate in having 3 mothers. And it's a great thing to have 3 mothers because you know what even one good mother is, but to have 3 mothers. And I think that is where I have got a lot of my lesson from, having these 3 mothers. Because over the years, a lot of things have happened. And once, when I was in the United States attending a certain university, my first mother and me, we used to talk a lot. And she said to me, boy, I don't know if I could do any better for you, even if you were in America. Because she said she felt things had worked out fairly well for me. And that is the conclusion that I have come to also.